What's up, everybody? This is Tim from Arm Wrestling Secrets, and in this video, we're going to be talking about how to perform the high top roll technique in arm wrestling. Go! Let's go! Let's go, Tim! Go! No way! Come on, Tim! All right, welcome to the show, and let's get right into it. Okay, so I wanted to provide some details on how to perform the high top roll in arm wrestling. Okay, so I've noticed after doing a lot of coaching with a lot of clients, I've noticed something that a problem that people are running into with their top rolls. Okay, and this is something I really hope this movement will help clarify things for you. This is my favorite top roll maneuver. Ready, go! Let's go, Tim! Okay. The setup is going to be a little different than the other top rolls. I know I showed some technique demonstrations the other day, but this has a lot more details in it, okay? And I think this is really important to see. Okay, so when people are setting up for the top rolls, this is one of the things I'm really seeing as a problem that people are having, okay? And it's just to do with muscle contraction. Look at this, okay? So you can see me from the side. I wanted to provide a few different angles, and I'll provide some different angles on this movement here, but let's start with this one from this side, okay? So our high top roll, as we mentioned the other day, the high top roll is basically, I'm just taking a high grip. What I mean by that is instead of taking a lower grip, like if I was going for a low hook, I would be right around closer to the person's wrist because I want to capture lower, okay? If I'm taking a higher grip, I'm not going to be as close to the wrist. A higher grip just means I'm taking a kind of a high leverage grip. I'm just trying to get as high as I can onto the person's hand. That's going to have the best effect for the high top roll, okay? With the posting type maneuvers, remember that people tend to lock. They're locking this. They call it, like a lot of people use the term riser, locking their riser, okay? It's just your radial deviation strength, okay? The radial side of the wrist. In a posting maneuver, the radial side of the wrist has to be locked, okay? So, right? We talked about that. You guys know that the posting top rolls, you're trying to draw up height into the arm for a leverage maneuver. Okay, you're pulling the opponent across the table, but okay, you're also trying to gain leverage. But look what has to happen. Okay, you need to have massive strength in these hammer curling muscles. Okay, that includes the wrist, the radial deviation of the wrist. It also includes the brachioradialis. Okay, the brachialis, all these muscles in terms of having to hold this angle. Okay, so if you guys are having trouble with your top rolls, the high top roll, I hope, can really come in handy because you're not focusing on elbow flexion with the high top roll. And I think that's some of the confusion with this move, okay? So look at this. Okay, so as I said, I'm taking a high grip, meaning high instead of low, that's all, okay? I'm not locking this. So when I'm locking up, when I'm trying to do the high top roll with an opponent, I'm not locking this. I'm not focused on closing this distance, okay? I want to have it tight from the beginning, meaning I'm going to set up, I'm not setting up like this, I'm just setting up in a nice position so that on the go, okay, I have a good leverage position and I have lots to give up. I'm not focusing on that on the go. So watch on the go, it's just a pull. I'm not producing a bunch of force up through the elbow flexors. I'm taking a high grip, and then on the go, let's go, Tim! Wrist, and a wrist here. Wrist, ready, go! Let's go, Tim! It's just a pull. Okay, and I hope that simplifies things for you guys. Okay, so a lot of people are running into trying to turn on a bunch of different muscles at the same time. Okay, the body can't really do that. Okay, so if you're trying to keep this locked and you're going for your top roll, remember these are weak muscles compared to the pulling muscles of the lats. Okay, so you can see my body here, right? Now I want to ask you a question. Okay, let's pretend this wasn't arm wrestling and you were taking them down to the pad. Let's just pretend the game was pull your opponent across the table. Like, let's just say that was it. Your job was just to pull the person across the table. They had to do that to you and you had to do that to them. Forget about the pin pads, okay? Now, how would you produce force if that was the game? If you had to just pull your opponent across the table? This is really important. Would you, would you try to hammer curl your opponent across the table? Like, do you think that's the best way to produce power? Pulling power. Okay? You're grabbing the opponent. You decide, let's see, the best way to get this guy across the table is like that. Or do you think the best way to get him across the table would be to pull, right? What's going to give you more force? This? That? Is that going to give you more force? Or is that going to give you more force? Okay? The answer should be extraordinarily obvious. Pulling power. The high top roll harnesses the pulling power of the arm, okay? And it takes out all of this elbow flexion. That's why I like it so much, okay? So let's look at some of the details here. Okay, so you see me from the side, and I'll talk about some of the other setup details here, but this is a good angle, okay? So look at me here. Okay, so you can see my lat muscle here through my shirt, okay? So you see the contraction there? Okay, so that's where I want to be. I want to be using that. I want to be using my lat muscle to do the power delivery. I'm not focused on this. Okay, so when I'm grabbing with the opponent, I'm not flexing all of this. My opponent might be, I can feel it. He might be focusing on this type of pressure, this hammer curling pressure. I don't do that on the high top roll maneuver. I'm just taking a grip. I'm relaxing through here. Okay, you see the muscles here, right? On go, I'm just trying to extend that opponent. I'm just pulling them directly across the table. Okay, that's what, like I said, that's why I love this maneuver. It's extraordinarily simple, and you're not focusing on these smaller muscles. You're just focusing on power delivery, back pressure. You're just focusing on a powerful pull, okay? And then you're adding your pronation, okay? So let's look at it a little bit more from this side, and then I'll switch angles, okay? So on this too, I'm setting my body up so I can pull the arm. Through. A lot of times when people are setting up to post, they're going to have their arm on the inside, and there's nowhere to go with the pull, okay? So I get my arm a little bit more to the outside, okay? And I'm still pulling. I'm still trying to maintain my pronation. But I want to deliver force this way. Kind of just like that. Let's change angles. Okay, guys, one thing in terms of setup that I wanted to mention, I mentioned it just a moment ago, was your elbow position and your body position for the high top roll. Okay, so as you've heard me say before, depending on what you're doing, it's good to have your arm inside your body, especially if you're going for some type of posting maneuver. Okay, with this high top roll, I'm not going to bring my arm all the way inside of here, okay? I want to have some pulling direction, okay? Like I want to be able to pull. I don't want this really running into my body, okay? So I'm going to set my arm a little more to the outside. Okay, so I have a little bit better pulling direction. Okay, let me show you the body positioning for the high top roll too. Okay, watch my body here. So you'll see I have my left foot pointed out. I got my right leg under the table. Okay, what I don't want to do is be square to the table. Okay, I want to have a turn. I got my right hip right up against the table. Okay, a little bit of an angle here. I got my toe pointed out. Okay, so I can pull on the go. I'm not going here. pull on the go, rotate down into the table. Pull, rotate down. Pull, pronate. Pull, pronate. Maximum force, backwards, and you're pronating down. Okay, so let's look at the high top roll. We'll talk about a few more details and then we'll close the video. Okay, so we're looking at it from this side. Remember, most importantly is we're not using the elbow flexors as a primary pulling force, okay? We want the powerful muscles to come into it. We need the finger strength here, and then we're gonna pull. We're gonna pull with everything, the lat being the primary pulling factor, okay? We wanna generate as much pulling force as we can, not posting force. We're generating pulling force without focusing on locking this riser. We're not locking the radial deviation, okay? And really quickly, as far as low and high top rolls, I went over those the other day. The low top roll is very specifically bringing up the low part of the hand, okay? But this is a finer point I wanted to talk about for the high top roll. Since I'm not focusing on keeping this locked, then I don't care if there's some motion in the wrist while I'm pulling, okay? So if I'm here and I'm pulling with somebody, if there's some motion in the wrist, I don't care. I'm not trying to keep this. I'd like this to stay high because I'm starting with a high angle, okay? And that's gonna give me better leverage, but I'm not focusing on maintaining a lock there, or else it forces my elbow flexors into becoming the primary pulling force, okay? If we wanna maximize pulling force, we need to let the lats do the work unimpeded. If we're trying to lock all these things at once, we want the lats and the elbow flexors and everything. They can't all be the primary pulling force. Okay, we need the lats to be the pulling force. We need to disengage these muscles on the go. We're not focusing upward pressure with the hand towards the face. I do not do that on the high top roll. I'm never focusing pressure up towards my face on the go with this movement. With this movement, it's just a pull. It's not locking, okay? Pull, and then obviously the most important part is with the hand, obviously I'm trying to maintain some pronation before the match, but I'm just trying to get a good direction where I can produce maximum force. Remember that I told you that if the game was to just pull your opponent across the table, right? A pulling force is gonna be a lot better than a posting force. If you just had to pull something across the table, that's what we're trying to do. We want his arm. I want to extend the opponent's arm and then rotate them over in a top roll maneuver, okay? Pull, and then of course we have the pronation. So what I like to tell on that one is just focus on getting the extension first. So on go, just focus on the pull. Pull as hard as you can on go. Ready, go, go, go. You're just as much force as you can. I'm gonna do a complete drag, okay? So with the dragging is what we need, okay? A lot of people, if they just keep their elbow in one place and they're just trying to shorten this, they have no strength at all. That's a totally weak move, forcing your elbow flexors to try to pull the person across the table. You'll be much stronger, much, much stronger if you just focus on pulling and dragging, okay? So with the hand, the finishing part of the movement is obviously the pronation, okay? So as I'm pulling over, I'm just focusing on turning the hand all the way down into the table. Not a little bit, all the way down. Extend, down, extend, down. Just like so. And that's the high top roll. I'll see you guys on the next one. If you want to light speed your arm wrestling knowledge, supercharge your training, and start winning more matches, click on the link in the description, go to my arm wrestling coaching page, and book a session with me right now.